to garbage, but it's a different approach, so I'd like to read this one. It's from Jessica Glenza from United for Clean Streets. Mr. Vogt, thank you for taking the time to come tonight. My name is Jessica Glenza. I'm a Thorn Street resident and member of a new group dedicated to cleaning up the Heights litter problem called Heights United for Clean Streets. We have organized cleanups, passed out Stop the Drop stickers, and we've taken time to review Jersey City's garbage ordinance and surrounding cities' garbage ordinances. We also know more on-foot street sweepers were assigned to commercial districts, so we thank you for that. Now, as far as garbage problems in the Heights, we actually have a pretty good code to encourage people to be responsible with their garbage. Residents are not allowed to put recycling garbage on the curb before 7. They have to have heavy-duty garbage bags if it isn't in a can. Garbage cans are not allowed to be overflowing, and inspectors and police are allowed to fine building owners up to $2,000 per day. And in commercial areas, code requires a public trash can at least every quarter mile. However, overflowing garbage cans, unswept sidewalks, overflowing city receptacles, and ripped open grocery shopping bags continue to be the worst trash problems in the Heights. There is not a city garbage can every quarter mile. They're often overflowing. And most people put their garbage out long before 7, but because some people don't know the rules, there's very little enforcement, people continue to do this. I believe we need an education campaign in Spanish and English, and we need an ongoing enforcement campaign to ticket offenders every day until the behavior changes. Right now, the situation is disgusting, it's embarrassing, and it's negatively impacting our neighborhood's property value. So I want to know, what is your plan to change this?
Why don't we do this? Because there seems to be a trend here. So clearly that is a priority. So why don't we, and I will work with that group personally, we will assign inspectors up here and we'll put a plan together to put those garbage cans in place. And I am fine to set up a working group. We'll start with, what's her name? We'll sign that.
Jessica.
Jessica, okay, so Jessica, just find me right afterwards and we'll start the process.
Mayor, I gave Jessica my card earlier.
Okay,
She's
well,
gonna connect
just
with me.
follow up so that way we could actually set something up.
Thank you.
Thank both of you. I've been told from DPW managers that the size of DPW, for example, needs to be tripled to make it comparable to other cities of our size. I'd like to know if this is true and if there's a plan to hire more workers. How would this be paid for the additional hiring?
Well, I would disagree that we need to be tripled. Part of the reason that we consolidated some of the different departments was to get more efficient and better use the resources that we have. Going back to what I said earlier, it's always a balance between balancing your taxes and everything that we want as a city and trying to find a middle ground that is reasonable on this. If you look at the job that DPW and the JCIA did during the snowstorm, it wasn't perfect ultimately, but I think by and large they did a pretty good job relative to other cities. And that as a starting point speaks to the fact that we're not perfect, we're not perfectly staffed, we always are looking for more resources to work our parks. But generally speaking, I think that our staffing numbers are pretty close to where they belong and where they are. The only thing that I would change, I'll tell you what I would change, is that the only thing that I would change on that front is some of our equipment is a little bit dated. And that equipment, again, is expensive, so it is gradually over time that we buy things and update them. But that is a cost and an investment that hasn't been made in a long time, and we continue to invest in it and try and change it, but it takes time.
Thank you. Next question is from Reverend Mona Fitzgerald, the pastor of St. John's, where we are now. What is the relationship the city has with the churches? For example, we're in a basketball gym right now. Where does the city run recreation out of church facilities?
The question was about recreation out of church facilities. Do we do that right now?
No.
No. So generally, I would say generally we don't. Our relationship with the church community overall is we meet regularly with a large group of pastors and priests and rabbis. Generally, every other month is generally when we have in my office a big conversation about it. We send out, you're more than welcome to join. I feel we covered every single church as an invitation. It really varies on who shows up. The numbers come from 20 to 40 different pastors generally show up. You're more than welcome to come anytime. What we try to do in those meetings is get church leaders ahead of the curve with regard to the initiatives that the city's pushing over the next month so they can share it with their parishioners. If you'd like to join, if for some reason you're on that list, you're more than welcome to join us.
Well, my point is that we have a gym here, we have a facility that we would like to use as a resource
to the community. And I have kids come up here and play basketball. And I'm just wondering, can we offer our resources as places where recreation can be held in the city?
I'll get your contact afterwards. Okay, so he'll get your, Kevin will get your contact afterwards.
Okay.
We'll go from there. Okay?
Radio News reported today that if Jersey City builds a casino, Jersey City will be required to pay Atlantic City $250 million over 50 years. Please explain if that's the case and why should we?
No, that's not true. The legislation that was proposed in Trenton basically said, this in a nutshell, that the dollars, depending on how much revenue comes into the state of New Jersey, the state of New Jersey would pay from all of the different casinos half, equivalent of $200 million, to Atlantic City. It doesn't come out of revenue that would be to Jersey City. There is additional component in that legislation as far as what Jersey City would get. So the dollars come from the casinos, go into the state of New Jersey, and then the entire state of New Jersey pay that out as well. So that is generally the way that works.
Thank you. I'm going to read a couple of questions here because
Can we see that clause?
Okay, the legislation is public. Yeah,
Okay, which legislation?
I'm going to read a couple of questions here that are covering things that we've already covered, but I do want to do think they should be said. To the mayor, I heard you say that you will put a trash can anywhere, but they're not being picked up, and residential garbage enforcement is non-existent. What will you do to increase enforcement and pickups? That has been addressed.
Yeah.
And per talking to the Incinerator Authority, policy is that city garbage receptacles are to be emptied 6 days a week. The receptacles on Webster and South are emptied 2 days a week. Will this ever be enforced?
I get it, trash, I get it.
All right, here's one for another issue we've spoken of. Let's see, one of the major issues in my district is parking. No one wants to be ticketed, but they would like people who are legally parked or without resident permits to get tickets. How are you working with the parking authority to improve enforcement? Or would you support a residential parking program like they have in Hoboken?
So let me go back to the parking situation. The parking situation here, people immediately say no. People immediately say no. The parking situation, I'll tell you the same thing that I told the downtown residents last week. It is driven by you and the community groups. The best way to do this is work through the community groups, particularly WPA and the RNA. You have very active, engaged community groups there. If they ask the councilman, if they ask our office, we are happy to facilitate it. What we've learned is generally when we try and do it without them involved, it doesn't work so well. So if you have questions or input particularly about that, just work within your leadership here and we will get that addressed as soon as it comes to us.
On that note, I'd like to say that we do have a good number of groups here tonight, and I would encourage all of you to join them. The Washington Park Association, Riverview Neighborhood Association, Nelson Avenue Block Association, the Western Slope Association we're happy to have here, Sherman Place Block Association, PS8 Neighborhood, Farms in the Heights, Central Avenue, SID, Friends of Liberty State Park, St. John's Church, who's been nice enough to give us this space tonight. Heights Hope, Head Start Jersey City. There are a lot of people up here who really do care, and I can see a lot of you here tonight too as well. So please join the group, support them. Thank you.